Hey guys, I hope everyone's doing well today. If you guys remember, I said we're going to have a different theme for each week of the challenge, starts next week. So the first theme for next week is going to be self-love because you can't love others until you love yourself, right? And I'm going to go more into that next week, obviously. But I still want to touch a little bit today about a way that we can show some self-love. So, what's crazy right now, guys, is over 250 million people have depression worldwide. 250 million. I feel like I should have that number wrong. And that's just the ones that have actually admitted it. Like, how many of us had felt that and experienced that, but have just blown it off and, put on a fake smile instead of trying to seek some sort of help? So that's a scary number. Like, do y'all think we have a real problem here? I think so. But I believe that when we're struggling, we can and we should look to others for some insight or solutions. And there are so many ways to do that. And I'm just going to bring up one example here. I think that children are incredible reminders of how we should live. And I know that the numbers are getting worse, and the amount of kids that are becoming depressed and committing suicide is increasing, which is nothing short of horrifying, but it's still a lot less than adults, right? Like, we still have a lot to learn from children. But why is that? Well, I believe it's because they haven't built up those walls yet that we have. Like, they haven't defined their egos. They haven't limited their beliefs. They believe anything is possible. They dream. They believe in mermaids and unicorns. Like, what a world, right? So why do we need to grow up? Why do we need to stop letting ourselves dream and stop imagining a world of possibilities? I mean, my 5-year-old right now literally wants to be a tooth fairy when she grows up. Yes, you heard that right. Not the tooth fairy, a tooth fairy. So not only does she believe this is a possible career path, but she also doesn't care that there's no job opening. Like, she'll be the second tooth fairy. She'll make it happen. Imagine if we thought like that. I mean, not literally those thoughts, because we'd have bigger problems if we all wanted to be a tooth fairy. But what if we stopped saying things like, oh, well, there's no jobs out there that I want, or, there's no job openings right now. I'm not qualified for that position, or, I won't get chosen for that promotion. Because the reality is you make the job that you want. You make the life that you want. I've been following a lot of successful entrepreneurs lately, and they all say the same thing about getting a job that you want. They say if you want it badly enough, you go volunteer there. Like, you show up unpaid. And one, how many people are going to turn down that offer? And then two, you have a chance to prove yourself. Like, prove your value first, and then you'll see what results come of it. So you put your all into something, and then more often than not, you're going to get something very rewarding back. So I know I'm going on a tangent. I want to get back to dreaming, and there's an exercise that I want you guys to do today. And y'all, I don't know how many times I've heard this, and you've probably heard the same thing, like, you create your own reality and ask and you shall receive. Like, I've heard these things, and I want to say that I believed them, but I really didn't. And now it's like, this stuff is real. Like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I'm sure you've heard that one, Henry Ford. Like, this isn't just some cool new age thing. It's proven that the makeup of your brain can be changed to experience more happiness, more love, more success, whatever you want, whatever that looks like for you. There's an author, I'm going to butcher this name, Carlos Castaneda, I believe. And I think he said it best. He said, we either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same. Like, the time is going to pass anyway. Your life is going to pass by. So I don't believe there's any middle ground. I don't believe we just stay in one place. We're either going backwards or we're going forwards. Like, we're always moving. So why not spend that time that's going to pass anyway, moving forward, moving yourself forward? So the exercise that I want to ask you to do, again, not part of the challenge. You don't have to share your results. But again, if you feel inspired to, please do. I mean, it's so encouraging for other people to see. There's a lot of people out there that maybe don't feel comfortable sharing. But if you feel the slightest twinge, like, hey, maybe I want to post this, you're inspiring somebody else. There's somebody silent on the sidelines watching you and gaining some insight from you. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding whether you should share or not. But before I explain the exercise, because this is one that someone has probably already told you to do, I really want you guys to keep an open mind and to do it anyway. Like, you owe it to yourself to do it anyway. Because one of the easiest ways to continue creating unhappiness is to close yourself off from learning by saying things like, oh, I've heard that already, or I know that already. That doesn't apply to me. That doesn't work for me. This seems silly. These are all lies that we tell ourselves about trying something new. And it stems from something deeper, and we all do it. Like, please don't think because I'm the one saying this that I'm exempt from any of these things. This is so far from the truth. But I can be here to encourage you a little bit, to say, hey, try changing all those thoughts to, what can I learn? How can this help me? What can this do for me? Maybe this will work. Maybe I should try a little bit differently this time. So I want you to seriously think about what you would be doing, what your life would be if money was unlimited and you didn't have to work. Write it down. Everything. What does your typical day look like? What does your house look like? How many rooms do you have? What color are the walls? Like, what kind of car do you drive? Where do you vacation? How often? What time do you wake up every day? What kind of food do you eat? Who are you? How do you act? Are you kind? Are you successful? Are you happy? What gets you fired up? Are you opening a doggy orphanage or saving the oceans? Are you helping victims of abuse? Are you teaching underprivileged children how to read? What fuels you? Write it down. Write it all down. Don't let any limiting thoughts stop you from dreaming anything and everything. Like, just write it down. Because you see, the scary part is that we usually don't even allow ourselves to think these thoughts. Like, we don't even consider the fact that they might be possibilities, and that there might be a way to figure out how to get that thing or experience or person that you want. So I'll tell you a story. I brought this up I asked my husband last week the same thing. It's like, hey babe, what would you do if you didn't have to work? Like, we were making enough money from, whatever, and you didn't need to have a job anymore. And he had to pause for a bit. He was like, oh, yeah. It's like, I'd have to think about that. And then he starts talking about these ideas. He thinks for a while, and he's like, he's a mechanical engineer. He loves to build and fix. He loves components and parts. And one of the things he said he would really enjoy doing is building robots for competition. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that TV show. I think it's Battle Bots, maybe, I think. And he brought up some other things that, some of his other hobbies that he'd want to broaden his horizon on. And, it's just like, man, why don't we even let ourselves think that? Like, why do we just block that off? We say, I gotta work, I gotta go to school, I gotta take care of the kids, exercise, make dinner, go to bed, and then I gotta do it all over again, wake up and do it all over again. Like, why don't we let ourselves open up and say, man, here's the 20 things that I want to do. What's the one that's gonna fire me up the most, and how can I make that happen? Like, how can I start building on that? Maybe one step at a time, just the first step, and see how we can get to where we want to be. So, then my husband asked me the same thing. He's like, well, what would you want to do? It's like, well, dang, I'm the one asking the question, and I still didn't even think about it. I was just excited to learn what he would do. But I felt the same way. I'm like, oh, well, I want to learn everything. I want to do everything. I don't know where I'd want to begin. I'd be wanting to learn new languages and, learning all kinds of investing strategies. I'd be learning karate, which I've never even considered. I'd be taking my exercise routine seriously. Probably getting back into CrossFit because that was a workout I really enjoyed that I haven't gone back to. I'd be writing a lot, maybe write a book because apparently I like to write now. I'd be taking cooking classes. I'm not a very good cook. I'd have, vacation homes all over. The list goes on and on. Like, I'd want to have a house where we have a lot of land and we have a lake in the back or access to some sort of water where we can have jet skis and be able to go fishing in our backyard with the kids and riding four-wheelers on our land. Like, I mean, there's so much. And this gets me really excited. Like, it's so much fun to dream. You know, it's a lot of fun, but it doesn't have to stop there. Like, we actually have the power and capabilities of attaining those things that we want. Like, no matter if you believe it or not right now, you know, your beliefs define your thoughts and your habits and your actions. So if you don't believe that these things are possible, then you're not going to see any opportunities that exist. But once you start believing, like, hey, this might be possible. This maybe could happen. This is something that I want. You know, this is something where I would work. I would go over and above to have this thing or to be this person, you know, to be doing this for other people, whatever it is. If you open up that possibility and allow yourself to think that, then you'd really be surprised by what doors start to open for you. So anyway, think about that. Don't skip this. Don't skip this exercise, and make sure you write it all down. Like, start reflecting on it. You know, when you're down or just, you know, when you're not, when you're happy, whatever you're feeling, it doesn't matter what you're feeling. Like, just go through these things and imagine what it would be like to have that or to feel that and experience that. Like, start living in that joy now. Don't put it in some future scenario that, oh, that'd be nice if I had that, but darn it, I still got to get up and go to work. Like, that doesn't serve you. If those thoughts don't serve you, then we don't want it. We don't want those. So, you know, that's why we're doing the gratitude, you know, saying the things that we're grateful for every day. We're trying to put ourselves in a place of, you know, I'm already abundant. I already have so much around me to be thankful for. This world is freaking beautiful and full of so much potential. And I'm just going to dwell on that. And then I'm going to bring in the things that I want to have, but I'm going to feel what it's like right now. I'm going to bring that into this present moment. Because if you keep it in the future, it's going to stay in the future. Like, that's how our minds work. If something is to come, then it will always be to come. Tomorrow never comes, right? Like, you've heard that saying. So bring it in the present moment. Reflect on it now. Pray on it. Meditate on it. Whatever you do. And yeah, you might see how it could change your perspective or your life. But it does take, you know, breaking down some walls that we've built up. It does take getting a little bit out of your comfort zone. It takes ignoring the limiting thoughts that are telling you, like, that's silly or whatever, and it's making some new habits. It's something that you may not do right now. Like, I know it sounds silly. You know, I have my 10-year plan and I'm reading through it and I'm like, this is so far from what I have right now. But, like, let's bridge that gap. Let's bring it into reality. So anyway, that's all for now. I hope you guys learned something from this, or, you know, had some sort of takeaway. If not, you know, maybe the next time. So challenge starts next week, starts on Monday. I'm really excited. I will post sometime on Monday. Don't know when yet. But I hope you guys have a great night. Thank y'all so much for listening.